the music video. It looks really, really good. I watched it a few times today. Um, what was interesting, and I guess, when we work on music, the last step before it reaches an audience is you get it mastered, right? You just make it all loud and all the levels are, ready to be streamed and all of that. And that's kind of what Ben did to the video. It was like a video's version of mastering where just everything kind of became strangely clearer, but I don't think it was because anything was out of focus. I think it was just because whatever he did to the coloring and of the shots, really, I was impressed. I was legitimately impressed. These guys were straight up pros,
It was really, and I'm so excited for this video. I really think the music video needed somebody who wasn't the singer.
Yeah. It worked out, right? It really worked out.
That, like, if I were to be in the video, it would have looked a little egotistical and selfish. I really think that having somebody who wasn't singing the song, but just acting out this interpretation of it,
yeah,
made it more powerful, because it's going to make the viewers actually listen and watch and want to know what's next in the story, and not just watch a pretty girl on camera sing. Like, I really think that that's what this video needed, because it's got deep levels to it, and that's the interpretation I feel like he brought to it.
When I presented Blue Flower to you, the track, what was I know I had originally told you that you didn't have to pay attention to the track title. That was kind of like a working title, but you ended up, I guess, finding inspiration in that. Can you tell me a little bit about that? What was it like to write lyrics for that song?
Normally, how I write lyrics and a melody to a song is I'll listen to the track over and over again, and I feel like it takes only one word for me to gain inspiration and to write off of that, including what you had orchestrated with the track. So the title was called Blue Flower, and I found that really interesting on its own. So as I was listening to the track over and over again, I started to it was almost like a rap in the beginning. When I wrote the verses, I started to kind of talk and rap out these words that had the word blue in it. And it just so happened to just come flowing out of my mouth. I think I wrote both of those verses in a matter of 5 minutes. And when I feel like when inspiration and things like that happen right away, it's gold, or it just works.
Yeah.
I feel like, especially in the chorus, there's this orchestra of strings and almost like old school disco, and a disco influence in there, and that's where I really felt like I should pay homage maybe to Whitney Houston's "Dance with Somebody." I just felt like this track was so unique and so individual, and I've never written to a track like this before. And the title and the track, they just the Blue Flower. I mean, where did that come from again? Why was that called Blue Flower? Because it just
yeah, Blue Flower. So in a way, it was an homage to the very first theater show I ever mixed. I had been working at Spotlight Live, mixing live bands. I'd been working on
I used to sing there.
Really?
What?
Wait, really?
I sang there every Wednesday for months at Spotlight Live before they shut down.
Yeah, I was the head audio guy there with Mike. Yeah,
Were you there when there was a competition with KTU? That's what I was.
So I probably mixed that. Isn't that funny? Oh, what a small world. Anyway.
What? Oh my God. We just had like a revelation right now that we never knew we crossed paths before. I was like 16 at the time, by the way.
Wow. Yeah. So I needed a break. It was an environment that you know, kind of enabled me to probably drink more than I should, and just I needed to step away from that. So I, on a whim, answered a Playbill ad looking for an engineer to mix a rock musical based on a Shakespeare play, and it was called The Rock Eye. It was written by composer Pete Mills, was starring Mitch Jarvis, who went on to play that lead in Rock of Ages, and he was the Keystone White guy. Yeah, so that was my first time working with him. So anyway, the show, a couple shows later, Pete had written this very strange Dada, like legitimate Dada theater piece called Blue Flower. And I think it takes place in World War II. It's been a second since I've seen it. But a good friend of mine was playing the lead, Megan, and her performance, the show itself was hard for me to sit through, but her performance was just memory. It created a strong memory. So when I was going through Jason's demos, his original name for that track was Sucks. And I was like, no, I am not going to keep this name. And so I immediately thought of Megan wearing this huge kind of gas mask, prancing around, speaking in gibberish. And I was like, all right, Blue Flower, that'll be it. I'll pay homage to Pete Mills, who gave me my first theater gig.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so obviously there's nothing in the song that kind of refers to any of that. It was just I don't know, it just kind of a working title that popped in my head. And I think what I like about your approach, here's interesting. Your lyrics tell a story, and it kind of refers, you almost get the reference to like relationships as like a traditional type of relationship, like between people. And what I thought Garth did was kind of in a Neil Gaiman sort of way personified music, or the process of making music, or the process of being an artist, and made the story about a relationship with artistry itself. And I like that the lyrics transcend both stories. Like, you can listen to the song by itself and you can imagine, you can make all the pictures. I know we originally talked about like visuals and ideas that we had really wanted to try to work with, and you totally get all of those ideas that we talked about in your lyrics. Mm-hmm. But then seeing Garth's take, I was like, wow, your lyrics became, I don't want to say malleable, but they were adaptable to the different scenario. It didn't matter if Blue Flower was a real person or if Blue Flower was your dreams. you still felt the same way. You still wanted to sing it the same way. You still enjoyed the song regardless. And I really kind of appreciate that, kind of the ambiguity in a way, that is present in your lyrics. And it's funny. I still think about when we were recording, and you really, I guess you didn't like how you had ended down in the ground.
Right.
And you know, and you know what? It's so weird because, like, even for me, when I listen to it now, when you get to that section of the song, like, I kind of take a lot of the effects out of your voice. And it really, to me, I just feel you going down into the ground.
Literally.
Yeah, and it's just so. I think of that conversation now every time I hear the song. I'm like, I know she didn't like it, but man, I like how it dipped. I like how it felt like we were going right down there into the ground.
Like the perfectionist in me and artists is how we're, we listen to it and we're like, oh my God, it doesn't sound good. It's off key. But sometimes that's the thing with art. It doesn't always have to be perfect. And sometimes words and sound should match because it's creating an actual visual interpretation. Yeah. And that word and that part of the song perfectly do that.
Yeah.
And I have to, as a singer, I have to realize that everything can't be like a belt or
right,
or like a perfect vibrato, that there are going to be some weird things that you do with your voice. And that's like the beauty of singing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sean Beavan and I had a conversation very similar to that, where we were talking about tuning vocals, like how hard to tune them. And he and I kind of were leaning towards this idea. It's kind of like a little more esoteric, but sometimes it's the emotion. When you're overcome with emotion, you're probably, in reality, you're losing control a little bit. You're not able to really focus, on hitting a note because you're so overwhelmed. But then you think of like a saxophone player and going a little sharp, just nudging a note on a saxophone up a couple of steps, making it a little sharp, makes it accented. So even though it may not be in perfect tune with the song, it's exactly what you need to hear right then. So it's like kind of, sure, with pop music you can really tune that stuff to like 100%, but sometimes, like, you don't need to. Sometimes tuning it takes the emotion out of it. Now, speaking of tuning, I didn't have to tune your vocals at all. I didn't tune any of them. You nailed all of the takes. Like, even the scratch vocals were all in tune. And I have to say, that is a rare experience to come out and start a mixing session and realize that, I don't have to do any of that because we captured it appropriately the first time, And I really, really appreciate that. And I think of that all the time. And even with Gravity blows my mind because you literally walked up to the microphone, started singing, and that was it. I didn't have to tune anything. Now, I took your vocals and I duplicated them, reversed them, and created a second melody line to kind of go underneath what you were singing on top. But that was all just, I didn't tune any of it. I didn't have to. It was mad props to you as an artist for that kind of control that you have over your voice. So it's rare. It's pretty rare.
Well, you made me very comfortable in the studio, and it was the first time I stepped foot in front of a microphone in over 6 years. I stopped singing back in 2016 professionally. I gave up on it, and I barely sang. No more vocal warm ups. I literally did not sing for like the past 6 years. And when you reached out to me to record this song, I was hesitant at first because I didn't know like what I sounded like anymore. I knew that I wasn't the same singer as I was 6 years ago because I stopped training my voice. So you telling me that you did not need to tune my vocals makes me shocked, and it kind of like makes me like, oh my God, what? Because you know how much weed I've smoked over the past 6 years?
you know,
Like I and but going back to stylizing your vocals and using imperfection, that's I feel like our take in Gravity really like that's exactly like that showcases that kind of vocals. It was one take that we did. It was something I've never done before in terms of stylizing, and I had so much fun with it. In fact, I'd love to do more
okay.
improv things like that.
Yeah.
And the way you edited it, and the final copy, it sounds really cool.
Yeah. It's there was something special about that track. I had I'd been working on most of these songs for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And Gravity, I had originally written for a movie, and it ended up getting cut. So I kind of had it shelved in my computer for a while, and I just wasn't really thinking about it. And just on a whim, I pulled it out and I started mixing it how I would have mixed it for myself instead of for a client. And I found something. I don't know what I did. I did something. I was like, wow, this sounds really good. This sounds different than what I've been doing. Like just overall, it sounded deeper and more. I was like, I don't understand why this is so different. So I went back and started chasing that sound. I went back all the way back to the beginning of the album and hit every song so that it would sound as deep as that song.
Mm.
And of course, over time, I ended up having to hit Gravity one more time before I sent it before you listen to it here. But yeah, the Gravity was a turning point in just the quality of the mixes for the whole album. And so I really appreciate that. Not only do I have like the memory of that track kind of getting me where I wanted to be for the rest of the album, and watching you just step up to the mic and improv. And I remember after you left, sitting back, I was listening to it, and I was like, I don't really have to do anything to this. This is as good as I like this. I don't have to tune it. I don't have to chop it up. I'll do my magic to it. But it's like it wasn't. It was a joy to work on. It wasn't like a tedious process that sometimes working on vocals can be.
I'm really happy to be a part of that track since you're telling me how much it means to you and how far you go back with that track and how it was rejected the first time, but now it belongs where it's supposed to be, and that's in your home. That's your album. It was always meant to be for you. And I'm
Very
really
thankful.
honored to be a part of that track. Track is fucking awesome. I did me of me being in a bubble in space, floating around. And again, the titles that you pick for your songs, they did it for me. That I needed one word, and that totally wrote the whole song. It inspired, and I feel like you're so good at picking keywords for these titles.
Thank you.
Songwriter myself. Gravity.